Hey there, welcome to this brand new playlist on JavaScript. Each video in this playlist will focus on a specific topic, building upon the foundation laid in the previous top videos. I'll try to break down complex concepts into easy to understand explanation completely with hands on examples. Whether you are interested in web development, app creation, or just want to master a versatile programming language, JavaScript is the key, and this playlist is your guide. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any updates as I release new videos in this playlist. With that, let's get started. Okay, so the first step is to set up an environment, right? So for that, we can follow two processes. One is to go and download Node.js directly, right? So once you do a simple search of Node.js, it will show up the first link itself. It will show up Node.js uh, website, and if you go there, it will show that for downloading for Windows 18.17.1 LTS version, you can just click on this link, and it will start downloading, and it will have an MSI which you can execute. But in for me, I usually don't prefer doing this way. The reason for that is I have multiple node versions that I need to manage based on the applications. So what I prefer is to go and have this nvm for Windows installed, so that I can manage multiple versions of node in my system, right? So if I type nvm Windows, the first link, which is a GitHub link, nvm for Windows, that opens up. If you scroll down a bit, you will see the installation guide. So in this, you need to just go to the latest installer, right? Once you click on that, it will show all the versions. 1.1.11 is the latest version as of now, but you, if you want to go and download a previous version, that also you can go and do. But I'll go ahead and use this, and what I need to do is I need to just say nvm-setup.exe, just get me this exe file. Once this exe file gets downloaded, I just need to execute it, right? Accept the agreement, just install. It says it's already installed. I Yes, I want to do it, and I want to overwrite the same thing. Once you finish that installer, what you can do is you can go and open a new command prompt window just to check if the nvm was installed correctly or not. You can just write this command nvm hyphen hyphen version, right? So once you run this command, the output might differ based on the version that you have installed, but it should give back a result, and it should not give throw an error, right? Now, to install a specific version, let's first check what all available versions of Node we have available as part of nvm, right? So if I just run this command nvm list available, it shows me all the Node versions that are available. I'm specifically interested only in the LTS version list, and the latest LTS version is 18.17.1. For this, to install this 18.17.1 version, I'll just write nvm install and just give the version number. So 18.17.1. As all I have already installed this version, it is giving me this message that this is already installed, but for you it will go and download and install it. Now, to explicitly use that version, you need to run a command nvm use 18.17.1. Once you run this command, it may ask for certain permissions, and then once you are there, you can just run this node hyphen hyphen version command to make sure that you are actually running 18.17.1 node version. That's it for the setup piece. Now let's get into VS Code and start writing some code. Okay, so we are in VS Code, and now let's just making sure that we have a terminal up and running, and the node version correctly installed. We can just write node hyphen hyphen version and see we are at the right version. I've created a file called as variable.js. Let's add some code in it. Let's say console log and hello world. uh, I'm good with whatever Copilot gives me, and now let's run the node dot slash. To run this file, we just need to say that node slash that file name, right? So once I do that, uh, what I'll get is the response back, right? So once I have this response back, that means like I'm able to run my file. Now, one thing I usually prefer is to run it in watch mode. So let's say if I want to run variables.js file, I'll just type node hyphen hyphen watch and then the file name. Right, so now you see that the file is running, the output is coming here, it shows some warning saying that it's in experimenter mode and all, that's all fine. Now what will happen is, let's say if I update here to something else, it restarts again. So I don't need to go back and restart and run that same command again, right? So it will take care of that for me, right? With this sorted, now let's write some code. So the first topic is to understand what does a variable and a data type means, right? So let's say if I define let x equals to 10, right? What JavaScript will understand from it is I have defined a variable named as x, okay, which holds a value of 10, right? Value of 10, right? Now, and which data type it is? The data type corresponding to it is, it's a number, right? So it is number. That's what it will understand, right? So let's say if I print x, and along with that I also print, let's say, the type of x, right? To know what exactly the data type of x is, I can just write type of x and save this. Now you see it printed 10 as my output for x, and type of x is a number. Now, one thing which is good with JavaScript is it's not explicitly it's dynamically typed language, right? So what will happen is, let's say if I define this variable as, let's say, JS, right? So if you remember, if you know, like in Java or C or C sharp, any of the compile time languages, right? It will give an error, right? That x is an integer, you cannot assign something like a string to it, right? So in JavaScript it is not a failure. So now I can just go ahead and do this console log of x, and the output here will come as JS, and now the type of x has also changed. So if I just do type of x, it will show that this is now a string. So that's the basic around the variables and data types, right? So a variable are like containers that hold different types of data, and as JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, which means we don't need to specify the type of data explicitly, and we can change it afterwards as well, right? And there are other different kinds of data types which are there. You can explore on that, and you can try to understand better around that. Okay, now let's jump to the second topic, which is functions. Let's create a new file inside the same session, and let's add a function.js file, right? And let's take whatever we had created in variables, right? So a function is basically a piece of code or a blocks of code that can be defined and executed when called. They are a way to group and organize code into reusable and modular units, right? So the function can take arguments and return values using the return keyword, right? So here I see a scope to create a function. Let's create a function with default way, and let's name it so let's create a function print uh, variable and its type, and yeah. So now what I can do is I can just call this method print variable and its type. Similarly here I can go and call this method print variable and its type with x, and let's save this. Let's run the command node hyphen hyphen watch, and what I want to do is run it in watch mode, right? So now the output is coming as same as we had seen in the variables.js file, right? Now one thing is this is one way of declaring a function, right? So a function keyword, and then the name of the function, then the variables, and finally right now we are not returning anything, but if you want to return, you can just say return x, and it will return that value, right? So another way of doing that is basically defining it in this way, which is called as function expression. Let's say I define a variable called as let same function, I'll try to put it in this way with fe in the end, call it as function expression, variable, console log type, and that's it, right? So now same thing I can imply here, that print me with this with x, right? And this one still let it be there like this, right? So the output still remains same. So what is the difference between these two, right? So this is a normal declaration of creating a function, and this is actually called as a function expression. In this, what is happening is we are creating an anonymous function and then we are assigning it to a variable. The reason for doing it that way is, let's say if I have this function, right, and I put it down here, right, the order of things does not matter, basically. So let's say if I put it down here, and now again if I run this, still the output remains same. But if I do the same thing with this fe method, right, and I put it in the end, right, it fails. It says this error that cannot access print variable and its type underscore fe before initialization. This is exactly what is called as hosting, that before initialization we cannot access something, right? So in function you can do that, while when you create a function expression you cannot do that, which is a good practice to have, so that there is a flow or a order of things in how things are getting executed. We'll talk more about arrow functions and the concept of hosting in the future videos. But these are the basics related to defining a function, creating a function, and how to use a function in it. That's a wrap for this video. Thank you.